Hello. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Hi, can you hear?
Hello.
That's better.
Oh, hi. Feel free as you're joining to introduce yourself in the chat, how old your kids are, where you're zooming in from, and we're going to get started. We're grateful to have a intimate group and can't wait for everyone who's here with us today. Hi, Amy.
Hi. Oh,
So happy to see you.
so good to see you too.
Amazing. Well, we're going to get started in a second. And again, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, share your name, where you're zooming in from, how old your kids are, and we can't wait to get started momentarily. Awesome. Well, I'm going to begin because we're grateful for everyone who's here on time. And thank you all so much for being here today. I'm Audrey Wish. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Curious Cardinals. And today you come to learn a little bit more about the flight plan and how we help students navigate the high school journey all the way up to college applications. A little bit of what we're covering, I'm going to just share some background on who we are and how we got started at Curious Cardinals. A little overview on the college landscape at large, a little bit into what it entails actually applying to college, because we believe that's super important to demystify and understand what's at the other side of this process, so you can understand what leads up to it. And then we're going to share the new platform that we've built that's reopening very soon. We're going to dive right in, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So for background, I started Curious Cardinals 6 years ago when I was a student at Stanford. I was a history major who thought I was pre-law with my 10-year life plan set and aspirations to be the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And then the pandemic hit and Stanford sent us home. I started tutoring kids online and working with them observed they weren't just struggling in school, they were disengaged and uninspired. They were absorbing and regurgitating what they read in a textbook, but didn't know why it mattered. So that inspired me to apply what they were learning in school to their interests, their passions, the world around them. One of them asked for math help. I was not as passionate about math, so I called Alec. Alec was an aerospace engineer at Stanford who loved math. And instead of drilling math equations, Alec showed them how math makes airplanes fly. And suddenly the student wasn't just learning the math, he felt genuinely connected to it. And that's when we realized there was a real magic to the near-peer, passion-based, project-based learning model. It's 6 years later, and we have a roster of 1,000 plus college and grad student mentors working with thousands of students around the world. We match students to college and grad student mentors to help them achieve their goals. Students pursue passion projects from conducting scientific research to starting their own podcast. And this past year, we built something new called the Flight Plan. And a little bit of that background is for the past 6 years, families have been asking us to help navigate the college application process. And we've done so implicitly, but not explicitly. And part of why we stayed away so explicitly is a lot of what we see in the college space is manufacturing a kid for college when our whole shtick is genuinely cultivating authentic curiosity and interest in your kid. That's what we believe leads to really remarkable results, and sustained interest and passion and self-confidence. But we've realized if we don't help students get bad advice elsewhere, or still feel the paralysis of how to navigate this process, and especially as we've grown to reach more and more families, we realize we've had to figure out a way to help here. And especially in this AI world, when helping your kid prepare for their future is more uncertain than ever. So that's what led us to launch the Flight Plan in May. And I also do not have to tell you, college process is more competitive than ever before. So we see more anxiety, more fear, more uncertainty, more unknown, and want to make sure people actually have good, trusted information and guidance to navigate this process while staying authentic to who their kid is. 10x the competition, the same number of seats, and this is for a number of reasons, but again, feels way more competitive than ever before. And I don't have to share how stressful this process is. I will say so many parents feel overwhelmed and inundated and all this information, not sure what to trust. And then countless times junior year, we get calls from parents asking, can you help my kid publish research, or can you help my kid start a nonprofit? And it's frankly a little bit too late in the journey to really shape their trajectory or turn their narrative around in a really substantive way. And so all of this has taken us to how can we help earlier on in a way that feels like kids actually have agency over the process. And so this is me, flashback in time to when I was applying to Stanford early with my parents, crossing my fingers that I would get in. And in this moment, I was obviously nervous and scared because this is a stressful process and Stanford's very competitive. But I also felt something that might be really surprising to you all, which is I felt confident. I felt really proud of myself. I felt like this application was unapologetically me. I spent my time, I contributed to the community in ways that I felt really good about and felt like I learned a lot about who I am and what I wanted. And I felt like no matter the outcome here, no one can take that away from me. And so no matter the outcome, because college admissions is probabilistic and opaque, we want to make sure your student gets to this finish line of submitting their early application to a college, feeling proud, feeling like no one can take away from me what I've learned about myself, what I've contributed to my community, the type of high integrity human I am, and that's going to serve me no matter where I go in life. And a lot of people frame it and say, no way you're going to get into XY school. What we like to tell students is, what will it take? If you actually want to set your sights on XYZ school, let's tell you what will it take and make you feel agency over this journey. Maybe that makes you realize, maybe I actually don't want this school. Or it makes you feel I have control in this process. And so without further ado, before I share what we built, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is at this finish line, what it does take and what it requires when you apply to college. I'm not sure, you can comment in the chat if we have folks with oldest children, or we have people who've already gone through the college application process. I'm assuming you have not gone through the college application process, so bear with me if you have. But if you haven't gone through the college application process, when your kid gets to summer after junior year, summer before senior year, so this time as a rising senior, they are going to start the Common App. It opens on August 1st, which is very soon. And in it, they are going to submit a copy of their high school transcripts. That's their grades and the types of classes they took, a list of their activity. These are 10 activities. We're going to get more into that shortly. Test scores, which now are increasingly coming back, any honors and achievements. And then you'll also have your recommendation letters from teachers, which again, junior year, you're going to ask who are the 2 teachers who know you best, who can speak to you very well and speak about you holistically as a person beyond just what they saw in the classroom. And again, no one really tells you going into junior year or even freshman year that this is what's on the other side of the high school journey. And we believe it's empowering and helpful to know about this up front so you know what you're working towards. And with your activity sheet, this is the part that we're going to kind of double down on. I've shared its grades and classes, extracurriculars, test scores, awards. For the activity sheet, that's what we are going to double down on. When you apply to college in the activity sheet section, you submit 10 activities. And in these, you share what the activity is, what your role is, the organization, how you describe it, and ideally, like a good resume or a LinkedIn, you have vivid verbs, quantifiable numbers, illustrative way to actually share the impact you've had. So you're hopefully way more than a generic participant in the club, but you are someone who's leading, who's contributing, who's growing. And then you're going to share how many years you did it, how many weeks you did it, how many hours per week. And no one tells you freshman or sophomore year, hey, when you apply to college, there's going to be 10 activities you submit, and the top 2 to 4 activities matter most. So what are the 2 or 4 activities that you're doing freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year? And when you get to the activity sheet, it's going to be obvious that it stands at the top of that list. And it might look like this. You can see here when you're applying to college. And we like to tell students this so they feel, again, agency over the journey. For example, if you were a junior, it's a great exercise. If you're a rising junior, it's a great exercise. Let me put together my activity sheet as if I were applying to college today. And let me imagine and dream for a minute. Where do I hope to be 1 year from now when I'm applying to college, such that I'll feel really confident in my application? And now let me make a roadmap and work backwards of what I need to do week over week, month over month to get there. Maybe you're a freshman, and even just knowing that this is coming helps you think about the ways you're spending your time in terms of what's actually going to move the needle most. And our whole thing is, how do we help a student stay authentic and true to who they are, but be strategic about it and not lose sight of their future goals and aspirations. So to this end, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we've built. Hopefully you have a little broader sense of what's actually at the finish line of applying to college, which really should be the starting line. We are continuing to work with students via our mentorship model. We've worked with 15,000 students these past 6 years, but we are missing a data-driven, objective college focus later to help guide students through their journey. And that's what we built. That's the flight plan. I'm going to share a little video for you to see quickly what it is and what it addresses.
There's no way you're getting into Stanford. What's your immunity clubs? What makes you honors classes? What's your narrative? It's time.
Hello? It's Sky from the Flight Plan. Let's make a roadmap to college. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I've always loved space. And I'm in AP Physics. And I like to build things.
I found perfect opportunities for you.
So that's a little preview of what the flight plan is, which I'm going to be sharing with everyone today. Before I do that, I just want to ground us in what the values are that ground this product that we have built. There's 6 guiding principles, one of which is start with the student, not the application. Our goal isn't to optimize your kid for any given school. Our goal is to help your student fulfill their potential. We want to give them a data-driven overview of where they stand today, and then agency and recommendations for them to feel like they are in the driver's seat of their journey. And so more so than, again, tailoring to any specific school, this is helping your student feel like they've left it on the court, they've left it on the pitch by the time they get to that finish line. Second is we don't predict outcomes, we improve inputs. College is an opaque and probabilistic process. If anyone tells you they predict outcomes, they're lying to you. But there is extensive data on the college process, actually one of the most robust data sets out there. Every school has a common data set, every high school has a school profile, and there's a lot of information out there that we've taken into account to give you a sense of where you stand so that, again, you feel agency over the journey. 3 is we tell the truth paired with a pathway forward. Folks might be familiar with psychophantic AI that tells you what you want to hear. This is not that. This is data-driven. This is radically transparent. But we pair that with growth mindset. We are not trying to demoralize a student. Our biggest goal is to tell you where you are so you have a clear sense, but to give you a path forward and to make sure you feel agency over what you can actually do with that information. 4, the student's the pilot, the parent's the co-passenger. One of the most important factors for us is making sure that students feel agency and like they're in the driver's seat. But parents need clarity from the cockpit to make sure it's a smooth landing. And so I like to say, especially to working parents, if you've ever had someone micromanage you or been in a situation where that's happening, it's usually because you don't have a good system for updates. And I don't really know any parents and students who have a system for updates. And that's some of the infrastructure the flight plan is meant to equip you with, which is giving you a place to set your goals, to store your progress, and an avenue for us to update your parent so they know what's happening and they know how to best support you without having to nag you about it. And so our goal is this hopefully takes some of the load off of a parent and makes it easier for a student to own the journey. 5, it's an Apple Watch, not an Instagram or a Snapchat. What do we mean by this? I like my Apple Watch because it tells me I didn't get enough steps in today, or I've been getting a bad sleep. And that's data that leads to positive behavioral change in the real world, that allows me to take agency over my decisions and feel healthier and feel more energized. And so our goal is to give you a data-driven sense of where you stand, but our hope is that that actually leads to positive behavioral change in the real world. Our success isn't number of minutes spent on this platform, but rather our success is what you go and do with that information in the real world. 6, it's a tool, not a relationship. Recent research from the Rhythm Project in collaboration with the Walton Foundation found that the students who are least safe with AI are the students who don't feel like they have an adult in their life that they matter to. And so it's really important for us that this isn't a relationship. This isn't replacing your Curious Cardinals mentor or your tutor or your college counselor, your parent, whatever the important relationships are in your life. Kids need humans to be their best self. This is a tool that helps you navigate the journey, but doesn't replace the essential humans. And so this is a little kind of what grounds the principles for this product we built. And that leads us to what the product is. How the flight plan works is it's voice AI driven. We've noticed that students love speaking on the phone or speaking out loud. That's a much easier way to share all the information and navigate this process. And so how it works is you have an intake call with Sky, the voice AI agent, sharing who you are, what your interests are, what classes you're taking, what extracurriculars, what your goals are. Then you upload your transcript, if you have a resume, anything you have, and then you go through onboarding. So we verify, did we get all your activities right? And we actually, I promised it would be full circle. We store your activities like you would on the activity sheet. So I talked about how important it is for students to see what their activities are. You'll have all your activities from this stored like they are when you apply to college on the activity sheet. We do add a portion for introspection, actually asking how meaningful is this? How big of a part of you is this? So you'll go through onboarding, you'll verify all your activities, and then you'll get your scores. You're going to have a follow-up call with Sky to actually go through your scores, make sure you answer all your questions. But this is going to give you a sense of where you stand right now, where you're at and why, and what you can actually do to improve your profile. Again, I was speaking to a student the other day who was saying there's no way I could get into Columbia or this other school I'm interested in. And I so wished he had the flight plan, because I said, it's okay, these might not be the right schools for you, but let's not make these blanket statements of there's no way you can get in. Let's talk about specifics. What about your profile? What about your track record? Maybe makes it less of a likely probability. But let's not axe these scenarios out in their entirety. And this will give you the ability to know what you're doing well and what are your areas for growth, and very detailed overview of why. And you'll be able to speak to Sky to ask follow-up questions. Then we help you tell your story, help you with your narrative. We'll help you kind of connect the dots and share the themes, the evidence of where this actually comes from and what's missing, how you can quantify these narratives further. And we had a student who is a super high achieving 10th grader, and she did this. And when she looked at the themes, she said, "Sky's glazing me." Glazing is Gen Z for hyping me up. I did not know that. But it was funny because her mom and I did not think it was glazing her at all. Her mom and I thought this could not have been more accurate. She was that amazing, and her interests were this unique and interdisciplinary. And it gave me a good reminder that often students don't know the words to tell their story or personal brand themselves. And the flight plan can be a tool to help with that. And then we do an activity audit. I've already done mine, so you don't get to see all the bolster and cut, but it helps me actually go over what am I doing that I could bolster and do more meaningfully? What am I doing that I should just maintain as is? And what am I doing that I might want to cut? One big thing we see with students is they're usually doing too many things and nothing that well. There's another bucket of student that's not doing enough things and we need to build more experience, but we'd rather help students do fewer things and do them really meaningfully instead of spread themselves thin across a ton of activities. And that's part of what the activity audit does, is be realistic about you cannot do everything. What are the things you're doing and how can we make the most of them? And then we help you figure out based on that what you should focus on. And we give some recommendations. You can also browse through. We're going to give you community service, competitions, programs, projects, internships, a lot of different opportunities that are a fit for you based on your goal, based on your strategy that we set. And all the details you need to know so you could actually apply or pursue these opportunities. We're also going to help you think of projects you can do and make sure that you're spending your time in the most meaningful way. You'll even be able to browse mentors, more so than even working with these mentors necessarily. It's about who are the college student profiles that come up based on your profile, so you can see who has a similar profile to you based on the trajectory you're headed. And that leads to missions, which I was doing missions like I was a pretend high schooler, but I'm dogfooding the product. So I did missions that I'm actually doing, which is growing my social media and hiring. And so it will work with me to talk through my calendar, my schedule, what are dates I have more flexibility, what are busier weeks in my summer, help me break down the goals into digestible steps. And then this is my repository. I get to actually have a place to track the tasks, to hold myself accountable, to make sure I'm staying on it with my goals. And on a weekly basis, I have a check-in call with the AI agent, where it's actually asking me, did you accomplish what you set out to this week? We said we were going to do this. Did you do that? Why or why not? And then my parent gets that update email so they can actually stay in the loop. And so the ongoing experience is we break down your key goals at any given time into missions and help hold you accountable to achieve those missions. So that's a little overview of what the flight plan does. You refresh it on a quarterly basis, so you really zone out to the big picture strategy once a quarter. Otherwise, we want you to focus on actually building the substance, actually doing the work, and this tool holding you accountable. We launched it in May 1 and filled up to the first 100 families in less than 2 days. And we're reopening it on August 11th to all families. And we've done a lot of work to make the experience smoother and clearer and more impactful for families. There's a lot else we want to build. So this is, even though it's a functioning out there product, there's so much more that is on the roadmap that we're excited to build next. And we can't wait to share with families who are in high school navigating this journey. So thank you all so much for being here. Jules is going to share the link in the chat to join the wait list, to be first to notify when we open it up to the next cohort. And I would love to answer any questions anyone might have. So whether you want to comment, raise your hands, unmute, or comment in the chat. Amy, please.
Hey, this was so great. I joined in May, but there was a lot of stuff going on, and so we weren't quite ready. So it's great to see, and I can see some of the changes and progress you've made. So thank you for this. One of my questions is, so our son, he worked with a Curious Cardinal last year with great success. How does this, and he will do it again probably this fall. So I'm curious how it ties into the regular program.
Totally. So what I would say, and that's a great question, and thank you for taking the time to be here and for your continued support. How this works is, this is like the data-driven, objective, always-on strategy, and the mentors, the human role model, inspiration, and perhaps accountability or subject matter expertise for a mission they're pursuing at any given time. And so a lot of families have asked us questions like, where are my kids' gaps in their profile? What should they be thinking about for college? And while our mentors may have gone through this process recently, they're not college counselors, they're not college experts. So this is meant to provide that layer. The other thing is, families will ask for competitions and awards and summer programs, and we can give you generic lists, but personally tailored to your kid. The mentor might know some, but again, they're not going to be the perfect for that. That's one of these things that this does exceptionally well. And if you're someone who's already working with a mentor, what we recommend is a student and a mentor make their passion project a mission together.
Okay, got it. That's what I
was
was
giving the mentors resources, and we're telling them, here's another tool. Maybe you're going to get a job at Google at the end of the year, and it will be nice that they have scaffolding and resourcing in place. Maybe 2 weeks you're sick and you want to make sure they're still staying on track. Like, this is a resource so that it's not all reliant on you, and they can take agency and have accountability elsewhere baked in. But this is a tool that if they have a mentor, what we are encouraging is, like, students and mentors make the missions together. And it asks a lot of questions like, what's your goal here? What does success look like by the end of this? What are things that are busy or not? So it should help make a passion project with a mentor all the more impactful. I think some kids will want to do it independently. Most kids, if they can, will probably want to get a mentor too, because it doesn't change anything or take away what a mentor brings to the table. It's more kind of like the always on in the background, data-driven technology layer to navigating high school with a lens on the college process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Audrey.
Thank you for being here. Any other questions we can answer?
I have one more if nobody else is going to raise their hand. Okay.
Go for it.
So my next question is the internships and such, the opportunities, that's incredible. So are those by, let's say, interest? Can they be looked at by region? How does that work?
Great question. So once you go through the onboarding, verify your profile and strategy, we will identify opportunities for you based on like one, your interest, your goals, and strategically that's the kind of 9 out of 10. Like you go through the onboarding, it will make a recommendation, and then you'll have the access to browse future opportunities. And then it will also take into account your location. So if you share, we've had someone who is in Denton, Texas, and they found like a local internship at the library they'd never heard about before. Or we had a boy in Greenwich whose summer internship this summer is at a museum in Greenwich they didn't even know about. So it will find digital, in person, it will find all these opportunities. And then you'll also be able to sort through things like fit, when to apply, just because it can be a real pain in the booty to do this yourself, the manual way. Yeah.
It's incredible. Thank you. That's fantastic.
Of course. Stephanie, go for
I had a
it.
question. We got a chance to take a look at it initially as a snapshot in time. I'm wondering how it updates along the way as the child kind of moves toward, like as the student goes throughout high school, and how it takes into consideration things that they have done along the way, and then how often it updates kind of the information and guidance.
Totally. So one portion of that is the weekly check-in calls, which is like you are updating what progress you're making with your independent projects or whatever your key goals for a given semester are through the missions. And that's being taken into account. In terms of the higher level strategy, that updates, or you're given the ability to update that on a quarterly basis. Part of our reason for that is we just don't want to make, our hope is like less noise. So many students we see are paralyzed by, do I do this? Do I do that? What's the perfect thing? And our whole thing is like, let's make a process. Let's give you the scaffolding for a game plan, and then let's commit to this game plan for the quarter ahead. And if at the end of it, you decide, I tried this thing, I don't really like it, great. That's a data point that we can share and adjust your journey accordingly. But you need to try something to have an input on it, and the journey can evolve. So that cadence for like the more strategic layer will happen on a quarterly basis. And then like very specifically, the breakdown of what you're doing on a given project at any given period will likely be weekly. And we're thinking about more ways that how can we be the place that helps students achieve their dreams day to day? So you can imagine that we will take that context into account and then be able to give those kind of higher level updates on the quarterly basis accordingly.
That's great. And I noticed there's I saw Jules put in a list of all the latest updates since the last time we got a chance to take a sneak peek. Is that where I kind of go and find all the new things that have been updated?
I think that's when we reopen. Jules just sent the link to reopening. I'm sure and Jules sent a lot. We're posting a lot, we're sharing a lot. But one of the biggest things we've changed is the onboarding experience, and have made it a lot clearer. I think a big thing we noticed was people feeling decision paralysis, and we're helping guide you towards what you want to do at any given period in time, and making that process of getting started to creating your missions a lot easier. We have guardian and student accounts now. Before we just had one account, so parent and student are both able to log in. We have the weekly check-in calls and the updates that the parents get. We've made the missions a lot better. And so those are kind of like the very high level progress made. And then there's so much more work we want to do to make it even better. And so the students like your student who's a rising ninth grader, they get the pleasure of growing with the flight plan. So we will be launching a lot of different changes. And one of the aspects of the flight plan we wanted to test for the Founding 100 and are keeping is we have monthly office hours. So every Sunday, there's 2 hours with our team. Alec and I have been there every time, where we get to answer whether it's tactical questions about the product or bigger picture questions about college. So there's a touch point as well with our team. And that's also where we often share like new updates in the product. So people are, in addition to whatever emails are coming out, like super well up to speed on what's happening, what's evolving.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Someone asked about length and cost and how that works. So when you sign up for the flight plan, you sign up for 12 months. It reopens August 11th, and it's $1,500 for 12 months. So that comes down to about, think it's 125 or so per month. And you get whole like entire access for any hour of the day, any time of day for the next 12 months. And if it's valuable, you'll hopefully continue using it beyond then. But for us, what's really important is these goals and this progress evolves on a longer time horizon. And so it's important for us to make sure that folks are committing for the year, because that's where we believe that hopefully you'll have real progress to show for the end of the year, and you'll have found your summer opportunities, you'll have made real progress on your main project interests, and you'll have really developed your profile, your narrative, your activity sheet over the course of at least a year with us. Though I would say that if students are earlier on this journey, they'll probably want to commit for the course of high school. And we're opening it up. The next cohort is still in beta, again, because it's an early product, and we're doing our best to make changes, hear feedback. So we'll be limiting it to 100 students, and based on how that goes, we'll open it up again. We won't take as much time as we did last time in between the cohorts, and we don't know when we'll open it up next, but for us, it's really important that we nail the experience for everyone who's part of it. And that's why we want to limit the amounts before opening up to anyone who could possibly sign up. We want to make sure that we can call you, we can respond to questions, and we can ensure you're having a great experience before more people than we have capacity for sign up. Any other questions I can answer, whether about the flight plan or the college process, any of it, we're here and happy to answer. Yeah, this is separate from mentorship. So if you have a Curious Cardinals mentor, we're doing the work right now to notify them you're on the flight plan. Here's how you as a mentor can help. We recommend that mentors help students by creating missions together so that the project they're doing is actually documented as a mission. But it's a separate service from having a mentor and the flight plan is all technology. The human that you're paying for is every month you have office hours the last Sunday of the month, 2 hours on Sunday. We have parents asking everything from tactical questions about the product to feedback on their students' experience. So you'll have office hours with our team every month. But other than that, the flight plan is an experience, entire product experience. So it's separate from the mentor. Some people will want a mentor as well to help achieve their goals and inspire their kid. But the flight plan you purchase independently, and the mentor is something separate that you can use in tandem with a flight plan. Yes, we will continue to have office hours for the second cohort. We've realized that that's been a really meaningful touch point for everyone involved and a great chance to make sure everyone's getting the most value out of the experience. And then people also often have questions that help influence what we build and making sure that people are getting the advice and guidance they need on the college journey. But we're limiting it to 100 people for the next cohort because, again, we want to make sure that we have the capacity in our team to deliver the best experience we can before opening it up to everyone.
Can I ask a question? Again, this is Amy. Sorry.
Ask away. We love it.
So I have so many friends whose kids have, gone off to college. They've hired counselors to help them. Is this, not saying it's taking its place, but what I have found is so many friends are doing that like their junior year versus earlier. And so I'm wondering your thoughts on doing this instead of paying an insane amount of money to bring in somebody that's working with your kid one-on-one in like a very quick 12-month period versus let's look at it very holistically and create a roadmap for it.
Totally. So everyone is different.
Yeah.
And we have, even in this Founding 100, we have people with college counselors. We have people who said, I wish I didn't get a college counselor. This is providing more value. And every kid is different. So I'll just be careful with any blanket statements. I would say that probably, and it depends where a student is at in their journey. But this does give like the high level advice. And then there's the accountability layer, which is where like the missions are meant to break that down. But I think having a mentor too is very helpful. So you have the combination of like the data-driven version of it and then the human inspiration mentor. And then it gives you the general gist of what collegers are looking at based on your goals. I think some people want more intensively tailored support. Or I think probably where a counselor or someone is most helpful is when you're actually writing the essays, putting the application together. We have mentors who help with that, but I think making sure you have expert support so you're not making any mistakes for that like very precious part of the process, that's really important. But the biggest thing throughout high school is, are you doing enough activities? Are you showing up in them meaningfully? Are you getting some sort of recognition and distinction in the things you're doing? Are your goals realistic? Like someone on our team likes to say, if you don't like the journey to Harvard, you probably won't like Harvard. And I think this does a good job of like giving you a sense of where you stand and what you need to do. And then it's about the layer of accountability of actually doing the work, which I think a lot of people who have college counselors still come to us for, like, they gave me this big advice, how to actually hold my kid accountable to do that work. So I would say it totally depends. What for you when you're thinking about the type of support you need, are you looking for?
This is so helpful. I mean, my son's entering sophomore year, so I feel like I'm trying to get ahead of it a
Yeah.
little bit. It is, it's a journey for sure. And I don't want to have to be like I don't want to have to be so hands-on in all
Yeah.
honesty. And let him be able to, for us to navigate it together, but for him to, I like how you said that they're the pilot. And so I know things have changed since I went to college, but my mom had no idea like where I was applying, anything. It was like, oh, you're going there? Okay, great. And so I'm thinking about, how to just set him up for success. So I love this. This is incredibly helpful. And it's good to think about this in addition to mentorship as well, which will
Yeah.
restart in fall. So
And I would say, like, if you do this, the other thing is it's so much of what you make out of it. So making
yeah,
sure, like, setting up the onboarding well and a student and
yeah,
parent doing that process together,
yeah,
making sure the student knows what they need to do to actually use
yeah,
this week over week, going to the office hours, like that's where there's various people from our team. We have a lot of expertise on this topic.
yeah,
And it's mostly what ends up happening is you want to know where you stand and that's like what the score helps to equip you with and
yeah,
inform you of. And then you need to actually just do the work. And I think so many kids get caught up in the strategy when it's like,
mhm,
that's part's not rocket science. It's that most kids don't actually do the work and build the substance that makes
yeah,
it easier to have optionality at the end of the journey. And then there's other things, which again, it depends on your kid. Like a lot of people have a lot of questions about courses, and there are some like
mhm,
subject specific scenarios, but at a high level, for the
mhm,
most competitive schools, they want to see that you're taking the most rigorous course load with the course load that you have available to you.
yeah,
And I think there's just some general practices that I think we really try to inform. More so, I think where you'll definitely want like the expert help, whether it's the right mentor. If we ever feel like we're not the best fit, we'll be the first to tell you is like if you're depending on what your kid is like, if they've done the substance and have a track record to show and you're thinking about like that activity sheet, are we going in the right direction,
mhm,
is putting the story together at the finish line.
yeah,
Which truthfully, even for a rising 10th grader, the process is changing so much in this AI world. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the supplement essays and the application itself look very different 3 years from now.
yeah,
But I do think that part, I mean, I'm sure we will actually build that out in the flight plan eventually, but that
mhm,
will be a very complex engineering challenge to
yeah,
address effectively.
yeah. Thanks so much, Audrey. Really, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the thoughtful questions. Um, Kalpana asked, I was wondering if you can start off with flight plan and add a mentor eventually, or would you recommend both go hand in hand to take the most advantage? You can absolutely start off with flight plan and then get a mentor. I think that works perfectly well. If anything, what might actually be helpful there is the flight plan will give you the strategic overview and help you figure out kind of what the mission you want to do. So then when you're signing up to work with a mentor, you're like, okay, here's where I stand, here's what I want to work on, here's the mission. I think we want to do, though we should substantiate with a mentor. Can we find the best mentor for this goal, given our broader perspective? So that actually might be a way to think about it. So it would be okay, but I would make sure once you start, like, want to get going. So I wouldn't wait too long after you started the flight plan to then add the mentor. But I think doing that first, so you have the scores and an overview of where you stand, isn't a bad idea. Claudia asks, is it better to get a mentor for 9th grade or to do the flight plan training? My 9th grader loves everything right now. I mean, I'm biased. I would say you should get a mentor and do the flight plan. The reason we built this product is we've been around for 6 years, and it's the piece that's been missing for high schoolers. We know that we just want your kid to find what sparks their curiosity and equip them with the support and accountability to pursue it wholeheartedly and achieve extraordinary things. With that said, we know that that's often not enough, and it's a very competitive world we live in, and folks want to know how this all plays into the college applications of it all. And so I would say if you are college oriented and you're thinking about college and you have stress or angst about college, get the flight plan. The mentor is the cool older college or grad student that they look up to, they see themselves in, they're learning from, they can turn to, is hopefully helping them achieve a certain project goal. But this is like the strategic layer. If you are a 9th grader who isn't stressed about college, I would say actually start earlier because that makes this process so much easier. I would recommend both if you have a high schooler. I don't really see a world where I wouldn't recommend both, because who doesn't want to know where they stand? Like, who doesn't want the feedback on their profile today and access to the opportunities available to them? I think the thing to know is it's a new product. But we are a very tech forward, innovative team. And so, like, it will be getting better and better with each month. And we're already getting really amazing feedback from it. So I don't think I entirely answered your question, Claudia. And I'm, of course, a little biased, but my push would be to get both. How do you know if you're selected for the next round, Kathy? I see that Jules answered this. If you're on the wait list, you are going to be emailed, you will be texted, we will notify you. And we just recommend signing up immediately because we're 100 spots. I'm not sure when we're opening it up next, and want to make sure you don't lose a spot. And last time it closed up pretty quickly. Amy asks, my son's interested in St. Andrews University, and they use the UCAS application system, which is the primary method for their admissions. Does FlightPlan tie that into that at all? That's a good question. What I would say, so when you do the intake, you'll share like what are dream schools, and if it's just St. Andrews, I have to actually check on the back end. What typically happens is a parent or student shares like 2 to 4 schools they're interested in, and it's generally an archetype, so we can kind of average out across that amalgamation, or like very much like the top 20 schools. I'd have to actually check on the St. Andrews. I don't know if we have their common data set, so that's a good question. But we definitely, there's a tier of school or adjacent schools that would go into that category. And that's like the most important thing to be filtering for, is like the type of school. And there's a difference between a St. Andrews or a UT or a Michigan or a Northwestern or a Harvard, and making sure we're in the right lane to be evaluating a profile on. But I'm going to come back on that. That's awesome. And I think the big thing for admissions in other countries is it just works really differently. Admissions here is so extracurricular focused, for example, and admissions for St. Andrews is going to be a lot more kind of data driven and objective, and way less of a black box and way less opaque. I'm just gonna to look at our product right after this and see. So I think there would be a few things to take into account, but I think probably more what I would say is I would look into, if we didn't have St. Andrews data, I would identify like what are the most adjacent parallel schools, so that we're like getting feedback tailored accordingly. Any other questions we can answer? Well, thank you all so much for being here today and for the thoughtful questions again. This is This is the thing that we wish has existed for the past 6 years, and it's such a tricky process, and we feel so much empathy for everyone because we know how much stress and pressure comes along with it. And our goal, the best feedback I think we got was from a rising 10th grade girl who said, I'm so college anxious. My mom and I almost didn't sign up because we were nervous it would make me more anxious, but it's actually done the opposite. It makes me feel like I have agency over this journey. That is everything we want. And so I hope that is what we can help facilitate for your student. Like, we want your kid to feel belief in themselves and a game plan. I was going to wrap up, but Kathy, I see you're raising your hand for a question.
Sorry, sorry. I just want to ask a quick question that can you hear me okay? I feel like there's an echo.
There is an echo.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. But so how long does it take to fill out the actual flight plan? And then how often do you have to come back and update?
So the flight plan onboarding, we're actually talking through this right now because we're potentially recommending students do it in 2 seatings just so they don't feel overwhelmed. The intake call is going to be about 10, 11 minutes. They'll upload their transcript and resume. Then they'll verify everything. So they'll actually make sure that we heard all the activities correctly, and how you'll see how it's stored like as they were in the activity sheet. And then you're going to actually go through your strategy and speak to Sky, the AI agent, to answer any questions you have, to verify, is this the right game plan? And then that takes you all the way to determining what you're committing to on a given basis and setting the goals up for that. And so the onboarding to set it up right should take you, I would say, 30 minutes max, probably more like an hour to 2 hours. And that's to get it set up correctly, because obviously it takes a lot of context and insight for us to understand who your kid is and where they're at, what their strengths are, to give the right type of feedback. And then in terms of on an ongoing basis, we recommend doing the weekly check-in calls. Those are like 5-10 minute check-in calls where it's truly just accountability. Have you done what you set out to? Why or why not? What are you committing to do next week? Okay, we'll talk next week. It's 5 or 10 minutes. And then we recommend adjusting it on a quarterly basis. You don't need to do quarterly. Frankly, you might have a strategic game plan and you're good for half the year, and you end up more doing like strategic refreshes for the back to school period and the summer period. And that's like the cadence you operate on, and that should suffice. But our hope is that your student can turn to this on a weekly basis to stay on track to achieve their goals and to, again, feel agency over their journey. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions that we can answer? Anything else? Okay, unless there's any other questions, then we are going to wrap up. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here today and for your thoughtfulness. And we are so excited to hopefully have you part of the flight plan. We open up very soon, August 11th. We're posting on Instagram. Jules shared my social media. I'm posting a lot about college. So if you want college tips and advice, follow along. And then we have our weekly newsletter. We have a few virtual events we're doing this summer. And then we'll be launching on August 11th. So if you are on the wait list, you'll get emails, you'll get texts, and we hope you sign up before the Founding 100 closes in this next group. But thank you all so much for being here today, and don't be shy to reach out with any other questions until then. Bye, have a good one.